Yo, before we get into this video, shout out to all my podcast people who've been begging for a podcast for the longest. Me and my man Agent Zero decided to deliver. We linked up with the almighty Baller Podcast Network, and we're bringing you a podcast by the name of Off Top, the latest and greatest, hottest NBA podcast that's out right now. We've already posted 2 episodes, so make sure you catch up with the link in the description, link in the comment section, link on my Twitter, links all over the place, but we will be posting 2 to 3 times a week. So make sure you subscribe. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Android. We're all over the place. But if anything, at least follow us on Twitter so you can be updated when it is posted. What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another video. Now, we're halfway through the regular season, and something very interesting is starting to occur. The Eastern Conference seems as if it's completely wide open. Sure, the Boston Celtics are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. However, their team is filled of inexperienced players that, quite frankly, I'm not 100% sure how they will execute in playoff series. Other teams such as the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons have been vastly disappointing so far this season. The Miami Heat, record-wise, might be one of the biggest surprises so far this year. However, they really don't have any star talented players on their roster to really push them over the top during the postseason. The Milwaukee Bucks are still waiting on Jabari Parker to return, and we still don't know how well he's going to look after suffering a very major injury. And then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. And yes, LeBron is still on that team, and please don't get me wrong, as of right now, I'm not completely sold on the idea that LeBron isn't going to make the finals this year for his 8th straight appearance, but I will be completely honest, I am very curious of how they're going to be able to execute during the postseason. There's still a lot of pieces that have not gelled well with one another on that team. The defense is even worse than last year, and quite frankly, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise if another team upsets the Cleveland Cavaliers, despite the fact that they still have the greatest player in the NBA. So that thus means we are left with the Toronto Raptors. Yes, my Toronto Raptors fans, my Canadian brothers and sisters, it is about that time. And as I say this, I am completely frustrated, just like you are as well, and it is way past due. The Toronto Raptors over the past several seasons have been one of the elite level teams in the NBA. However, no one is willing to really give them the credit that they rightfully deserve. Before every season, you see multiple media outlets put out their preseason rankings, and for whatever reason, and I have no idea why this is, but this year the disrespect was on a whole nother level. You had multiple media platforms claiming that the Toronto Raptors were going to finish this year with the 6th seed, simply because they lost a player such as Patrick Patterson, who has a better real box score plus minus than Serge Ibaka. Doesn't really make that much sense. But the thing that's even more frustrating is, like I stated before, the Toronto Raptors, this really isn't new for them whatsoever. Toronto over the past 4 years have consistently made the playoffs. The last 2 years they've been a consistent 50-win team, and this year really isn't no different. However, there are a few things that they have made changes to make them a little bit better, and in my honest opinion, legit contenders in the Eastern Conference. So far this season, according to Basketball Reference, they are top 5 in both offense and defensive rating, which is vastly impressive. They are holding their opponent to around 104 points a game, which is 9th in the NBA, while also scoring over 110 points, which is roughly 3rd in the NBA. The thing that's really impressive about this team on the offensive end is 2 things. One, they have upped the pace over the last several seasons. For those out there who are unaware, the Toronto Raptors really have been one of the slower paced teams in the league. They have vastly changed that, up the tempo, and now they're top 10 in pace. And second thing they changed about their offense is passing the ball. Over the past several seasons, it seemed as if they were very dependent on their 2 stars, Kyle Lowry and Demar Derozan. Having the offense heavily influenced by Kyle Lowry in the pick and roll, DeMar DeRozan on the wing isolation, and everyone else really just standing around until the defense decided to collapse on the 2 players. Now, if we were referring to a player such as Russell Westbrook status or Kevin Durant, then possibly that could work. However, let's just be honest, over the past 2 to 3 years, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, they really haven't become the players that they are right now, especially Kyle Lowry, who has definitely plateaued over the past 2 to 3 years. And so because of this, I do believe that DeMar DeRozan, along with Kyle Lowry, had to expand their game along with Dwayne Casey and move the ball around a lot more than they had been in previous seasons, which not only has made it easier for DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry as individual players, but also helps everyone else on the team. The responsibility is now allocated equally amongst everyone else, and thus it makes it a little bit more easier for everyone to score, including the bench players as well. So far this season, the bench has been really good, and quite honestly, I didn't see this transpiring in the beginning of the season simply because they lost a lot of depth with players such as Corey Joe and Patrick Patterson. And so far this season, players such as Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, and shout out to my man Portal, have really stepped up their game, picked up the responsibility and the slack, and decided to keep pushing on despite the fact that, again, just like myself, many people doubted the idea that this bench was going to be anywhere near close to what it was last year. And then when it comes to the defensive end, when Kyle Lowry is healthy, he's definitely one of the better two-way guards in the NBA. Shout out to Serge Ibaka. I definitely believe that was a huge addition to this team. And everyone else, DeMar DeRozan can definitely still use a little bit more help on this side of the floor, but everyone else is very keen to their defensive assignments. The rotations are on time, people are closing out. Shout out to OG Anunoby because he was a rookie this year and he's already starting and playing key pivotal moments in very crucial regular season games. He's been given responsibilities to guard players such as LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Paul George, and even though yes, he has stumbled quite a few times, it's still all a growing process. And when it comes to just as a whole, the team is definitely looking very well rounded. The chemistry has started to click, and it seems as if everything is going in the right direction. And to put the bow on top of all of this success, we have to talk about DeMar DeRozan. Very similar to his team, DeMar DeRozan over the past several seasons consistently gets disrespected from multiple media outlets. I mean, before the season even began, you had ESPN rank him 39th after coming off a career season and put players ahead of him such as Jay Crowder and Miles Turner. It literally makes no sense. And when you start to read and hear why people disrespect or they just don't have the same expectations for DeMar DeRozan as they have for other players, again, it's very questionable. Yes, I understand DeMar DeRozan throughout his career has not been the greatest three-point shooter, and we are now in a league where three-point shooting is very important to every offense, and we can easily just write off the fact that DeMar DeRozan he's playing in the wrong era. However, to make an argument simply based off of his inability to knock down a three ball, to claim that Jay Crowder or Miles Turner is more valuable than him is ridiculous. That's reading way too much into the numbers. Also, when you have people who make arguments saying that, well, DeMar DeRozan, he underperforms in the postseason, which is definitely true, and I hope that he consistently grows and continues to develop as a player. However, we're not going to act like James Harden doesn't underperform in the postseason. Paul George underperforms in the postseason. Matter of fact, majority of the players that you will probably view as some of the top 10, 15, 20 players in the league, their postseason numbers, they take a pretty massive dip. And so when it comes to the Toronto Raptors and DeMar DeRozan more specifically, there has to be a lot more respect put on their name. But the thing that is even more frustrating is when they do actually achieve a certain amount of success or continue to develop and grow, no one talks about it. Because so far this season, DeMar DeRozan, some of his holes in his games, he has filled. His weaknesses are starting to become part of his strengths, and yet no one is giving him the credit for it. When it comes to his three-point shooting, DeMar DeRozan, he has expounded his game to a point where he is a legitimate threat from behind the arc. He has definitely grown. He is a consistent 35 or better % from behind the arc. Over the last 25 games, we're talking about a player who is borderline 40% from behind the arc, and also he has kept up his ability to create his own shot, which is something that is very pivotal when we're talking about how instrumental DeMar DeRozan is on his offense, even without Kyle Lowry on the floor. Also, when it comes to DeMar DeRozan, offensively, he has definitely been able to read defenses much better than he was able to last year. Because I'm not going to lie, last year in the postseason, when the Milwaukee Bucks were doing nothing but double teaming DeMar DeRozan, not just DeMar, but the rest of the team act as if they had no idea what they were witnessing. And I understand DeMar DeRozan plays for a team that you might not watch. I understand DeMar DeRozan, he's not the most flashiest player. He's definitely not as athletic as he once was before. And I understand DeMar DeRozan, his style of play isn't really what the NBA is about right now. However, none of those are valid reasons or arguments to why you should consistently overlook the Toronto Raptors or disrespect DeMar DeRozan. Because the truth is this, over the last 4 going on 5 years now, the Toronto Raptors have consistently made a playoff appearance. Can't say that about too many teams in the Eastern Conference, especially those who are not led by LeBron James. The truth is, over the last 2 going on 3 years now, the Toronto Raptors have consistently been a 50-win team. The truth is, over the last 2 going on 3 years now, Demar Derozan has scored the 5th most points in the NBA, obviously behind players such as LeBron James, Steph Curry, and James Harden, but before players such as Paul George, Damian Lillard, and DeMarcus Cousins. The truth is, this is a team that's not going to go away anytime soon, especially because this is one of the younger teams in the NBA with only 2 players 30 years or older, which is CJ Miles and Kyle Lowry. So this idea that this team is going to fall off out of nowhere or DeMar DeRozan isn't one of the better players in the NBA is a bit preposterous. And if you believe that, then quite honestly, it's not that far-fetched to believe that this team could potentially upset the Cavaliers and make it into the NBA Finals. But with that being said, people, please let me know what you think about the Toronto Raptors, DeMar DeRozan, and the rest of the roster in the comment section below. Let me hear your thoughts on their ability to possibly make the finals. And please don't forget about the Off Top podcast. Link is in the description as always. And make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe button to be updated on all the latest and greatest NBA videos on YouTube. With that being said, I'll see you all later. Peace.